What's going on, everyone? It's time for the annual hitting tips video for MLB The Show 24. If you don't know, here's a little bit about me. I've played MLB The Show online since MLB 16 or so, and I started out pretty bad, but over the last couple years I've been able to become one of the top players and was lucky enough to win 3 tournaments, including last year I was able to win the MLB Championship Series. These are some of the tips that I have always given over the years, but today I'm going to give you some more in-depth tips on what I really focus on and some stuff you guys can use that I use. So first we're going to start in settings. Hitting difficulty, it doesn't matter. I always like to practice on Legend, but as we go to offense, this is where it really matters. So hitting interface, zone is the only thing you can use. Directional, no, you're not going to be able to use that. Timing, no. Zone is what you're going to have to use. This is essential. You can't hit without it, in my opinion. The PCI anchor is very optional. I've never used it, but I know a lot of fellow top players who use it, and it helps them out a lot, but I've never felt the need for it, but it doesn't matter if you use it. It's something that's all preference. Plate coverage indicator you always want on, in my opinion. I've tried hitting without a PCI, but with zone for a little bit, and I just couldn't do it. So I think the PCI is pretty essential. Here is where it's the all preference pretty much. I've used circles 100% yellow, no inner or outer since MLB The Show 20, and it's worked wonders for me, and I've had a lot of success with it. But I know a ton of top players who don't really or use so many different things, and again, this is all preference. Okay, let's go over hitting view. This is also very important, and there's 2 hitting views you can use: strike zone and strike zone high. I've always used strike zone ever since starting to play the game, but a lot of top players also use strike zone high, and you can have a ton of success with strike zone high. I've always found it just a bit odd, but I know a lot of people who have had a ton of success with it. But these are the only 2 you should be using: strike zone and strike zone high. Okay, now we're in custom BP picking our teams. This is also very important. So what I like to do is go to some of the classic teams. For example, we'll just use the Beasts and the Groundbreakers here. Let me get to them, and I just head into a game. It doesn't matter where you play. We'll just go to Laughing Mountain. Okay, so now we're in custom BP, and this is also very important. There's so much you can do to get better at this game in custom BP. So this is what I do. Let's use Mickey Mantle and Randy Johnson for this example. So say you're struggling with the Randy Johnson fastball, and a lot of us can say we have. You can put the sliders up on 4-seam fastball and put this down, and say, for example, you can't hit that high fastball from Randy Johnson. You can locate it to the 3 strikes in the top of the zone, and the ones that are high that are balls. This is a great idea, and this is something I'm really going to take advantage of this year. And let's do another example. First, slider. Let's put this all the way up. Let's put that all the way down. And let's do inside. His slider can really fool you. So let's face the high fastball from Randy Johnson and slider inside. This is going to be very hard, but this is the only way to get better. So for example, a good thing you can do is just watch the pitch. Like, don't even try to swing. You can track it, but you're not swinging. You're just seeing the movement on the pitch to see if it's a strike or ball. And after you do this so many times, you're really going to get real good at recognizing what the pitch is. And this is something I've done a lot, is just sit in custom BP for an hour and just track. It's very helpful, and even though you'll think it's boring, it's really going to help you out in the long run. So while I take custom BP, I'm going to explain a couple things. So one of the most common questions I get is what I use on my controller, what controller I use. Do I use precision rings? Do I use a Control Freak? So I'm going to explain that all for you now. So I use the PlayStation 5 Edge controller, and you can pick this up anywhere. It's something I picked up last year, and it's done great for me. So what I do is I hit with the back trigger on right here. So this is an add-on that you put on the controller. So instead of hitting X like here, I hit with this. I use my middle finger and I just push it down. I'll show you as we take this swing what I do. So I just act like I'm hitting and just hit my middle finger. That one didn't work out great, but that's something that's really helped me a lot, and my timing has gotten a lot better, I've realized. Another thing I use for my stick is the Control Freak. So I use the mid-rise orange vortex. It's this thing right on top. And I actually just got a precision ring, and I used the green one that goes on the bottom of it. These are very helpful to me, and I think it's not needed, but it's really can improve your gameplay. Say you're a 900 player and want to become an 1,000 player, or you're an 800 player and want to make World Series. These can really help you out. Another thing that is very important is your monitor. So playing on 120 hertz is crucial. I didn't think it would make that much of a difference when I first got my monitor, but it's night and day. A monitor is crucial for being pretty good at this game, and even in 19, when it wasn't 120 hertz, when I picked up a monitor, it made my batting average go from like 300 to 350. It's that big of a difference. You can just recognize the pitch so much easier, and you're also closer to the screen, and it's crucial. So now that we're just going to take a couple more swings, I'm going to talk to you guys about the mental part of the game. This is something that I really pride myself in, and if you guys watch my streams over at twitch.tv/Kreiner, I talk about the mental part of the game so much. I always say it's 90% mental, 10% skill for me, and while that's different for a lot of other people, I trust my skill where I can beat anyone on any given day. But winning the mental game is what I think makes me be so successful in tournaments. My biggest thing is, and I know as cliche as it sounds and as hard it is to do, just don't rage. It's so crucial, especially when you're playing like for your World Series game. Say something goes bad in the second inning, you can't let that affect you. It's gonna happen. Like, it's baseball. There's gonna be times where you're going to get all the luck in one game. There's going to be some times where everything's just not going your way. Bloops, hard lineouts. It's just going to happen. But if you can stay mentally in the game for 9 innings, it's really going to pay dividends in the long run. It's something that I've really prided myself on the last couple of years, and it's very important to me. Now we're going to talk stadiums. This is also pretty important. I've always played at Laughing Mountain Park the last couple of years. I think it's the best dimensions and elevation. I think there's not really a great park in the game, but Laughing Mountain I think is the best out of the worst pretty much. Some other common stadiums, the Shield Woods, I think it's a bit too hitter friendly, especially last year. There was like 23 to 21 games here on Legend, and that never happens. So I think Shield Woods is just a bit too hitter friendly. Another park that I see a lot, and for the people that have played for a long time, is Ship It. This used to be the stadium to play at from like 19 to 22 or so. And while I still really like it, the batter's eye is great. They did nerf it a bit, but this year with the exit velos being as high as they are, I think Ship It might be the park to play at this year. Some other stadiums that I see people play at sometimes is Franco. I've seen a lot. I actually played here a good bit in 20, and it's not a bad stadium at all. I think it can be a bit deep to center, but I'm going to show you some MLB parks that I actually don't think are bad. There's always been some problems of lagging, but Coors Field is definitely the best MLB park with the elevation. You can play some really high-quality games here at Coors. This is probably the only MLB park I would play at, but Coors is definitely pretty good. Date Palm Field I've also played at over the years, and I really recommend this one. I actually know a good friend of mine who's a top player, Sebrev, who's actually works for MLB The Show now, is a big Date Palm Field guy, and I've always enjoyed it. I don't really play here a lot. I sometimes forget it's here because it's under the spring training tab, but it's something I really recommend. I'm going to go through what I look for on my DD team when I'm building a team so I can use my advantages the best I can. I always look for power in my lineup, and clutch. Especially last year when clutch became such a crucial stat. That's something I'm really looking for. Ignore my team now. It's all bronzes since it's day one. But the stats I would look for right now are power and clutch and vision. I'd also add vision. If you can get those 3 things, you can really get some good cards. When I think of this, I almost think of the BR model. Like, you always draft, like the Jorge Soler, for example, in BR. I'll show you this card right now if I can get to it. Okay, so here's the Jorge Soler card. This is, if you're looking for a budget guy in DD, I don't want to make this a DD video. We'll have that later, but this Soler's power is 112.89. The clutch is 70, which isn't the greatest, but especially on the lower difficulties, a card like this is really going to be great. And this is what I'm looking for in my DD team early on to give me the best success is the big power guys. And for example, there's some more. And even Alberto Mondesi, if you guys have played for a while, some guys just have great swings. If you look at his stats, nothing's really eye-popping other than the speed, but Mondesi plays above his stats with his swing. He has a nice two-handed swing that just every time you square it up, it just travels. That's another thing I really look for is swings on a lot of cards. There's some cards with insane stats that just have terrible swings. A card I can think of is Stan Musial. He's always had good cards for years, but his swing, it's like a pool noodle. Every time you square it up, it's not going anywhere. So what I look for, especially early game, is good swings. Joe Mauer, I've always liked his swing. I feel like, especially versus lefties, you can ignore his stats right here, but on his 99 later in the year, his power versus lefties will be around 90. But you'll see he plays way above his stats when you square it up. So that's something, if you feel comfortable with a lot of players' swings, I'd recommend putting them in your lineup. That's something that can really help you. Don't look at the stats. Like for example, Buxton has an amazing swing, and you look at division and clutch and say, "Oh my God, I can't use that card." Don't look at it that way. If you like his swing, you can find a place in a place in the lineup for Buxton. That I think the stats are kind of meh, but the swings just makes up for it and more. If you guys have any questions for me in the comments that I didn't address in the video, leave it below. I know there'll be some stuff I missed, so feel free to drop a comment. If you guys want to watch some of MLB 24 gameplay, head over to my Twitch channel. We'll be live all weekend, and we'll be live daily at twitch.tv/Kreiner. And if you guys have any questions, you can also drop it in the Twitch chat. I'd be more than happy to respond. I appreciate you guys watching, and have a great day.